Hello, my cartoon fanatics. Today we talk about a hidden gem you probably never heard of, or aka an NWD project that is sort of going on online. And today we talk about a new original from the company called Maker Studios, creating called Sunny Side Down. You may heard about the company before because I did briefly review one of their own shows. Because usually when they make a show, it's specifically a web series, but not a normal one. Usually when they make a series, they're sort of under 2, maybe 3 minutes long, but that's it, and have sort of a small web series to 5 to 8 episodes, and that's it. And this one did catch my eye because the art style, the idea, the funness in the possibilities, what you could actually do with this sort of fun, sort of out of space diner, sort of psychological horror-ish, but yet sort of dread of reality of life, but doing in a diner on a space that you cannot escape. Before I continue on, my name is Rachel. I like to talk about animation, not just animation, the reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories, or sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, you like how it's going, like to help my channel, put a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the only thing you need to do. If not, that's fine. We do. Thank you. Because of you, I'm getting close to my main goal of 2,000 subscribers. And yes, I'm getting close every single day because of people like you. People who like, comment, and share. Thank you. Now, let's break down this sort of new indie project called Sunny Side Down. Now, let's get started. Now, this is sort of interesting because how the creator got inspired by the movie Spaceballs, specifically one scene. The famous scenes of that film is the fact they started a sort of restaurant in space and a lot of weird aliens going back and forth with different cultures, different arguments, but all in the same place because it's sort of comfortable, understandable, but yet so interesting. You see so many different things and what's in going on. And they thought, why not do that in an anime series, but sort of spoof it, but using sort of old the 90s nostalgia sort of IPs, reference them, and figure out how they escape this specific diner. Because if you don't know, the name of the whole show, Sunny Side Down, reference the restaurant they actually live everybody together of this sort of restaurant because they cannot escape because you have a black hole really close to it. So close, this is the reason why it points out they cannot escape. If they do, they fall in the hole and be self-destructed. This is the reason why everybody stays in the restaurant because they sort of know they can escape, but sort of kind of horror dread. They sort of their minds escape, or they argue with each other, or figure out what to do next. Doing sort of eating in the diner, paying, or figuring out how you get out. Now you do have sort of a main lead called Nat, the goth waitress, who basically served everyone. You could feel her weight, her tiredness of dealing with so many odd creatures that she wants to quit. In fact, they sort of have a mini joke saying, yeah, every time you quit, you keep repeating, but you keep coming back. But why? But pointing out the black hole, making a point that she cannot escape, she always come back because there's really nothing really to do. And this is sort of the dread, the sort of relatability with Nat, that she cannot quit. She just stares in the black hole, wondering what she actually do. But she is not the main focus. She's sort of the connections of all the other customers, who they are, how you sort of think they had to get stuck there. Because the very beginning, at least the first 2 episodes, they don't really explain how each single creature kind of gets stuck to this sort of place. They just are, and they do escape. They fall in a black hole and they can never get out, at least for right now, because I only watched the first 2 episodes. If I'm correct, there's sort of 5 episodes in total, but I could be wrong of that number, but it used to be just 5. But I have to admit, this web series really is good. It sort of knows how to tell a story under 2 minutes very well because it's Maker Studios, because they're sort of well known making short sort of mini episodes, but understanding the beginning, middle, end. They had to do it really fast, really not really fast, do it enough to make sense, doesn't feel like out of pocket, because it's really hard to make a fluent or feel missing something in between to hit the jokes. And you know what? They do it so well, just so fluently. But I also love is all the ideas they have, because the whole point of this sort of making sort of 90 characters sort of nostalgia, but yet making fun of it, but at the same time questioning, can these characters can escape. Like the first episode, you do have sort of a Star Trek sort of reference crew who get stuck there, but they have to do sort of things to escape. But at the very end, it fails. But it's one of those how they approach the characters, how their sort of methods of their original IP or nostalgia character know how to get out, and they sort of make fun of it, but yet give it sort of respect. Because of this makes it sort of unpredictable. You don't know what next character will come out. Like the second episode is basically the Matrix trying to kind of convince people to escape taking the blue pill or the red pill, but it basically points out it's a scam. You cannot get out. Do not listen to them. Don't be arrogant. But at the same time, it does this joke set up saying you are so desperate, you're willing to believe anything they would say to just give that sort of relief, that sort of hope, but they don't. It's something that you kind of need to escape. But once more, this is a 2 episode jokes they do for the first beginning of this mini series, but I have to admit they land every single time because it is enjoyable, interesting, and I hope one the episode do explore how everybody kind of fall into this sort of trap, or how Nat became the waitress, or how she get there, and how she decided to be whatever. I want to be here now. I have no choice. But it's sort of interesting because they just don't rely on the sort of reference or nostalgia. They have a very artistic way to pick each single episode, make it different. One of the big examples is sort of episode 2, that you have the POV respective of this sort of mini life universe inside sort of a oil that Nat the waitress is cutting because she's sort of frustrated, bored, but keeps standing over and over it. But you see the perspective of these mini people who live this sort of world. And what's more, it's something that is just so creative that did not need to do, but yet it sort of adds more to this sort of diner. Like everything there is some points used to be alive or was alive, decided to cook it, or left there because they went crazy, chop and jump in the black hole, or something in between. That's what they make it so kind of clever, because they know you have 2 minutes, but how to visualize. They almost completely challenge themselves to think outside of the box. Besides relying on that sort of nostalgia kind of kick like Star Trek or Matrix, they add extra stuff to make it refreshing, different POP, or follow sort of the main lead, Nat, what would she do next, or how to have this sort of conversation of one of the characters. In fact, you can say Nat is sort of the one who tried to keep everybody insane while actually realizing, because she doesn't have much things to do, but yet she does it because it's the only thing she could do. Protect the basic patrons so they can eat and figure out how to escape, because everybody has sort of idea how to escape, but we all know they all fail. But yet it's sort of the creativity, the idea, the angle, and this would make it sort of refreshing, even that it feels sort of a one season sort of gag. But how the first 2 episodes introduced, it feels they have so much interesting ways to pull it off that I don't mind if they do get a season 2 to figure out what else kind of jokes, what kind of angle, what kind of weird psychedelic ideas they come up with, because it feels to go even more trippier, more out there, more existential horror. It still depends of the angle they choose. But at the very end, that's all I can say about this new original web series from Maker Original, because it feels original. They did, my opinion, pull it off. It feels sort of refreshing. The only thing I wish there was sort of at least a 10-minute episode, but it's sort of obvious this is a small studio and they had to make sort of sacrifice to make the show work. In my opinion, that sacrifice was completely worth it because how they tackle it. Now, I'm not sure I'm gonna review the whole series later on in the future, but at least I do recommend watch this sort of mini series because it's totally completely worth it to see what else they can figure out, what else creativity they can come up with this sort of small impactful mini series. Now I got nothing else to say, just one question. Have you seen this series? You did? How you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Tell me down below. Let me know. I got nothing else to say, just thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day. Bye.